3 years. I've had patients who have been sentenced 10 years to jail. Art Schlichter, the prominent Baltimore Colts quarterback, Ohio State quarterback of the century for Ohio State, 2 beautiful little girls came to us for treatment when his oldest daughter was 6 years old. Taylor was 6, Maddie was 4, and he served 11 years in jail. 11 years when he didn't see his children except maybe one day for 2 hours every 3 to 4 months. This is what gambling does to families. Now, of those, sticking with, and I need this because I need the statistics, of those 100 compulsive gamblers, I said 33 have been arrested. Well, let me tell you, 99 of them, 99 of you, of compulsive gamblers, will have committed crimes. Now, those crimes, you may have stolen monies from your family. A lawyer may have embezzled a client's escrow account, and the law firm wants to keep it quiet. Not everybody gets arrested, but why is it that a lot of these family members do not get arrested? Because the family bails them out. Just like the state of Maryland wants to bail out with slots, families bail out the compulsive gamblers. So we have not just the crimes that are committed, but who bails them out? Not the wife. Let's say the gambler is you. Your wife doesn't have the money because you've gambled it all away. Where do you go? You go to your parents. Mom, Dad aren't going to let you go to jail. Mom and Dad protect you. They don't want you to go to jail. They know of the horrors in jail. You go to your children, you can't do that. You've already stolen their college monies. So you steal from your employer, or you steal wherever you can. Bad checks, employee theft, identity theft. I had one compulsive gambler forge 5 of my credit cards. Identity theft came to almost $100,000. So it can happen to any of us, even those who are trying to help the addicted gamblers. Forgery, money laundering, tax evasions, those get you in federal prison. Cost of federal prison, if 100 of you are compulsive gamblers, 33 of you are arrested, 21 of you go to jail. And this is only 100 compulsive gambling. We found 20 years ago there are 50,000 compulsive gamblers. Do you know how much it costs to keep one offender in jail for 1 year? $20,000 to $25,000. If you're sick and elderly, up to $50,000 per year, typically 3 years. So now you're talking $60,000 to $150,000 for one compulsive gambler. And we know at least 21 of you are going to go to jail. Now, what's the cost involved in all of this criminal activity? Well, there's the investigation by law enforcement, pre-trial investigation by probation officers, allocution hearings where you plead guilty or not guilty, first time in court, second time at the trial, third time at sentencing. Now, with the courts, you have the guards, you have the stenographers, the court clerk, you have the judges, you have the law clerks. Incarceration, $25,000 to $50,000. And then after you get out of jail, still the parole officer, typically 3 to 5 years when you're on parole or probation, plus all of the administrative costs that go with it. The cost, just the financial cost of one compulsive gambler is so monumental that when somebody like O'Malley, by the way, when he was mayor of Baltimore, he already decided he wasn't going to bring casinos to Baltimore, but he, at that time when he was mayor, said he was going to bring in the slots. So this is not just something that happened overnight. This is something that's been planned. The gambling industry has long-range plans. And of course, these are the criminal costs. This doesn't even begin to address the issues of broken families, families with no utilities, families that lose their homes, kids that can't advance their education, kids that end up drug addicts or alcoholics, all of the health problems. But there's another issue here, and that really concerns me about slots. Now, in the past, when I started in this field, the typical compulsive gambler was someone like Pastor Phillips, someone young and handsome. 40-year-olds, typical middle income, middle class as we call them now, who would go to Las Vegas or to the racetracks. People who had incomes, who had the time, who could go, take the afternoon or the weekend off to go gambling. Well, now, when we brought in the lotteries, anybody and everybody could gamble. It took not just the men, but it brought in a whole new population of gamblers, and of those, of course, some become compulsive gamblers. It brought in the women. It brought in young people. It brought in elderly people. I never gambled. How many times did you play a slot machine or the lottery? We just didn't do it, you know. Now they do it. It's diverse in all age groups, all religions, particularly strong in the Jewish community. There's a lot of emphasis in the Jewish community on money. Gambling's all about money. But my biggest concern is with the lottery, and now with the slots, which is a natural turnover, instant scratch-offs, instant slot machine play. My big concern is, like most of you, elderly people. I'm sorry, I should say above middle age. Yeah, I don't consider myself elderly. I just turned 72. I still don't feel that old. But what we have with elderly people, let's say it's just one of the two, of husband and wife, where there's no more income. You're living on Social Security, unlimited income. But what we're seeing with elderly people is that both husband and wife become addicted. So one can't help the other. In fact, they just do the reverse. They both pull each other into the slot machines or the racinos and the gambling venues. Now, one thing that's new in my life that did not occur 4 years ago. We had Katrina 3 years ago. I went down there to Mississippi twice to do volunteer work. Stayed 2 weeks just about each time. Second time around, I started to set up a mental health center because there were no mental health doctors there. When I came back, I went to the Psychological Association telling my story, and there were two people there, Colonel Nelson and Colonel McCoy. The military had gone down to New Orleans, and they were recruiting. I joined. I'm now serving with the rank of major in the Maryland Military Department in the Maryland Defense Force. Now, the reason I mention this is because we have 1,500 National Guardsmen that just returned from serving in Iraq. This war has the highest incidence of suicide among soldiers in the theater where they're being deployed. Now, this is highest suicide rate in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and these are the soldiers that are coming back. The mental health problems are astronomical, and we're already doing the surveys. How many of you have a gambling problem? I dread the thought of what is going to happen within a year or two, whether they're gambling here or whether they're going to Delaware or West Charlestown or wherever. It is horrifying to think what will happen if we have the slots here, because the military condones slots. They have the service clubs overseas where they have slot machines. So that's very scary.